try to finagle me. Sound here or there, but I'd rather bleed. Do, 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 do. I'm the voice you'll never hear. Hide me away in your bedroom closet. Do, 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 do,
All righty, good morning, everybody. Why don't we get started? Everybody got your coffee and donut, or plural? And we will begin our chapter meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if y'all would stand with me, please. You ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And at this time, we will do a brief introduction of everybody that's here. There's a few faces that I'm not familiar with, and I'll start. And I think Manny has the other microphone. He can help. He did a few minutes ago. So my name is Mike Beckstrand. I'm with California Office of Emergency Services. I'm a regional comm coordinator out of Redding, and I am the chapter president this year. We'll start over here and work our way around.
Hi, I'm Greg Glenn. I'm with Comba Telecom as well as Trig Incorporated, and I'm going to be doing the keynote today, so I don't need to say any more because you're going to hear way too much of me anyway.
And just a reminder, we are live streaming this over the internet, so we have to use the microphones for questions and things like that.
If you want to announce that's the password for the Wi-Fi, if anybody wants to get it.
John Powell, former chapter president, national president back in '93, semi-retired in the Fresno area here, and come to the meetings whenever I have the opportunity.
Good morning, Will Vega from Fresno Fire. I'm the Administrative Battalion Chief for Support Services and the Communications Liaison.
Paul Lambert, Cooks Communications here in Fresno.
Hey, Jonathan Pierce, City and County San Francisco Radio Shop.
Michael Proscia, City of San Francisco infrastructure side, and also the alternate frequency advisor.
Hi, I'm John Polka with L3 Harris.
Samuel Christensen, Epic Marketing, represent manufacturers in the communication space. Kenwood, E.F. Johnson being primary, and Mindshare as well recently.
Jessica Gomez, County of Fresno Radio Shop.
Janine Zafino with Wildfire Technology Integration. We're a commercial audiovisual integrator, and we focus on the command and control and communication centers. And we did the Arctic over here in this building, so probably can go see it if you'd like. We're working with Monterey Fire Department doing their EOC. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Thanks.
Ian Atkins with Rapid SOS. My first time in Clovis, so thank you and for the warm welcome.
I'm Ernie Espinoza. I'm a network systems engineer with Fresno County Radio.
Brian Bonney. I'm with Fresno County Radio, also radio systems engineer.
George with JPS. You may see my short colleague is no longer here. He finally came through on his promise to retire. No pressure. I just like talking to people. Gateway Company. We make radio communications work a little bit better than they normally do. Thank you.
You're next. Thanks, George. Kevin Knight of FirstNet Authority, California, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico. I'm a Senior Public Safety Advisor. Just want to remind you we're having a coverage enhancement workshop in San Diego at the Caltrans building on July 7th. So 7/7, it's on the NAPCO website, or if you need more information, let me know.
Eric Ott with County of Tulare. I'm just IT administrator for radio systems.
I'm Nicole Bilali. I'm with Zetron. We do mission critical communications, the infrastructure behind 911 call taking, fire station alerting, CAD, the radio dispatch, and everything that supports that on the network.
Max Iwanek with Illyrium, which is a subset of Comtech, and we do 911 core service routing, as well as we do call handling, one of the oldest systems that's out there, more mature system that's been there, and a lot of people have been asking us to come to California to help out, and we're here. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Ryan Fackner, Stockton Fire Department. I'm the ambulance compliance manager.
Good morning, Chris Guerrero, Rapid SOS.
Morning, Manny. Good morning, everybody. I'm with the sales group. We're manufacturers, reps for a whole bunch of products. One of the products you may see here that we rep is RGB. It's actually in their real-time information center. So we help do the video wall. Our integrator, which may be here. There she is. She actually ran the program, took care of it. So if you guys have an opportunity, go check it out. Okay, because it's really awesome. And that's available to all of you. So if you guys are looking to do video walls, you're looking to clean up your workspace for the dispatchers, let us know. We can partner up and bring in an integrator to help do that for you.
Hey everybody, good morning. My name is Miguel. I'm also with the sales group. So we are a rep group that has partnered up with some of the leading command and control room manufacturers. So we've been able to put together a really good collective of command and control room technology, and that allows us to serve as a trusted resource for police agencies. So if you have any questions about any of the deployments that we've done, including here in Clovis, just please feel free to come up to us.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Chris Lopez. I'm with BK Technologies. BK, we are a radio manufacturer. Pretty much every fire department knows who we are, I believe, in the country now. We've also started developing software applications. We're doing mapping solutions. We're doing push-to-talk over cellular solutions, as well as we've also developed a app for tax solution. So if you guys have any interest to see what else we're doing other than just two-way radio in the fire market, there's several of us here today, so just reach out. No, they're with me.
I'm Ryan Delaney with BK Technologies, and I second everything Chris Lopez just said.
Kent McNabb, Oakland Police Communications.
Bernard Louie, East Bay Regional Parks Police Dispatch.
Anna Trindad, Stockton Fire Department Emergency Communications Manager and your chapter President-elect.
Sean Allen, Stockton Fire Quality Assurance.
Jim D'Amico, Deputy Chief, Clovis Fire Department, Operations, Training, and Fleet.
Jim Lencioni, your chapter president, or sorry, your chapter PIO. I don't want to be president again. Please don't do that. Chapter PIO, also your executive council rep for the time being, and I'm with the County of Placer.
Uh-oh, you found us. Good morning, everyone. My name's Chris Bosworth. I'm with BK Technologies. We're for the factory. We're Jay and I are with the outside engineering group. Glad to be here today. Thank you.
Good morning, Charlotte McMahon. I'm with Cal OES. I'm also one of your chapter board of directors.
I'm Manny Vieira. I'm your CCAM and also a member of the Commercial Advisory Council for National APCO.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Couple of housekeeping. If you need restrooms, out this door in the back and to the right. There are restrooms in this hallway over here. Should we need to evacuate the building, there is an exit out the same door that goes out to the back, and then also the front lobby where you came in, and out in the parking lot. So. All right, with that, we will go into our Board of Directors notes. And we'll first start off with our finance and budget. basically, we're doing really well in the financial front to take care of our bills and obligations and things, and put on meetings like this. Anna, awards and recognition and conference.
Good morning. Since we have a new group here, we'll kind of go over our awards and recognition, just a little brief summary. Every spring in May, we hold an awards celebration. This year, it was at Oak Farms Vineyard in Lodi. Great turnout this year. Super excited for everybody who came out, everybody who was recognized. We'll do that same thing again next year. We have 7 or 8 award categories that are peer nominated that we recognize each year. It would be wonderful to get some more participation from down in this region. We look forward to seeing all of you there next year. And then for our conference, our California NAPCO conference is being held in San Diego this year. It will be October 18th to 21st. Registration's open now. There's going to be some great courses, great training, great speakers. Again, we hope to see you all there.
And as a reminder, there are stickers at the table to take with you. Manny, commercial activities?
Good afternoon, or morning, whatever the heck it is. On the commercial side, we have our sponsors for the rest of the year, and it's nice to see I think we have 10 or 12 commercial people here tonight, so that's awesome. So in November, we will be putting together next year's schedule for our monthly meetings, and as this year, we will be completely sold out again, probably by January. So if you have interest in being a monthly sponsor, please let me know. We will have locations probably in the beginning of November, and I'll get that out to everybody. But if you let me know as soon as possible that you are interested, I'll just kind of pencil you in. When it comes, I should talk about the show a little bit. I'm not doing the show this year. It's in Southern California. They are 100% responsible. We are on the committee for the show, and I really would like everybody that's a commercial to get registered as soon as possible. There's some great locations on the showroom floor still available, and there's sponsorships available. Yeah, national. In San Diego. So at the San Diego show, the state conference. So yes, please, if you haven't signed up already, and if you have any issues, call me or Jim if you're not getting any help on the other end.
And the international show is in Anaheim next year.
Yes.
Correct.
So we will not have a state conference next year in California because the national show is in Anaheim, and you can't have a state show if there's a national show in your backyard. So we will be looking at 2028 show in Northern California. We have a couple locations already in mind, so you'll be hearing more about that over the next couple months. Thanks.
Thanks, Manny. For the Constitution and bylaws, we're actually doing some updating to the bylaws. And as soon as that is presented to the Board of Directors, we will post it and provide it to the chapter. If the next item on here is emerging technology, and that's Larry, part of the Board of Directors, and he's not here today. However, if anybody hears of any new emerging technologies, like BK just mentioned something about TAC, which I'm interested in. We need to talk. If you have any ideas or have heard of something about new technologies, send an email to the board. Our contact information is on the website, and we'll be able to investigate that and present it at future meetings. Next on the list is the Executive Council. Jim?
So due to the timing of International sending the Executive Council summaries out to us, I have 2 months worth to go over. And this is activities from March and April. They have not sent me the May activities yet, so I'll just go over them as quickly as possible. Basically, the Executive Board from NAPCO International is staying active with President Jack Varnado visiting, spoke at the Alarm Ministry Communications Committee to discuss Next Gen 911 and FirstNet. Meet past President Steve Martini, represented NAPCO at the Missouri Public Safety Communications Conference. President Varnado, sorry, and Vice President Mike O'Connor and CEO Mel Mayer attended British APCO conference in the UK, and then Steve Martini, Second Vice President Jennifer Reese attended the Texas APCO conference as well. That was in March. and April, they continue to be active with Second Vice President Jennifer Reese attending APCO Western Regional Conference in Phoenix. If you didn't have a chance to go to that, next year I'd recommend, next year we won't be having one again because of the international conference being in Anaheim, but those are great conferences. They're a little bit smaller than national, but again, a lot of the same vendors and exhibitors, and some great classes being put on there too. So that's just a shout out for Western Regional if you can go. The Board of Directors conducted congressional visits on Capitol Hill, talking about FirstNet authorization, Next Gen 911, reclassification of public safety communications and communicators. They did a showcase in Washington, D.C. They went to the Louisiana APCO Symposium. Basically, and what's coming up is what's important to the board and for APCO as a whole. And that is the FirstNet reauthorization remains the top priority for APCO, and they continue aggressively advocating for extending FirstNet beyond its current sunset date. In March, the House Energy and Commerce Committee unanimously advanced the FirstNet Responder Network Authority Reauthorization Act, which is H.R. 7386. And then APCO publicly supports this legislation and continues engagement with congressional leadership. In April, the House advanced H.R. 7386, which would extend FirstNet authorization for another 10 years. They're working on 911 professional classifications to move public safety telecommunicators into the protective service occupations, which is the 911 Saves Act, H.R. 637. Momentum has continued to build with this, with 7 new congressional co-sponsors added during March alone. They're working on additional legislation also, which is H.R. 5200, which improves outage reporting affecting 911, H.R. 5201, which evaluates implementation of direct 911 dialing requirements, and then the Mystic Alerts Act, H.R. 7022, which supports wireless emergency alerts delivered through satellite systems. They continue to also work on submitted comments for the FCC regarding a waiver request involving the 4.9 gigahertz public safety band. Halfway through. They supported public safety objectives, but urge the FCC to maintain consistency with ongoing nationwide 4.9 gigahertz coordination framework, and they recommended deferring action until a new band manager is established or pursuing a more targeted relief. For spectrum management, in March preparations and April meetings focused heavily on the FCC spectrum policy and public safety class spectrum access. March priorities included the 4.9 gigahertz coordination and system data verification, 800 megahertz pool consolidation, 900 megahertz spectrum proceedings, signal booster policies, VHF, UHF concurrence requirements, FCC license assistance, foreign influence disclosure requirements, and public safety waiver requests. Major issues discussed during that conference in April were signal boosters, considerations of a petition for rulemaking establishing a structured authorization framework to address interference concerns impacting public safety systems. So that's a big one that I know has been hot topic in our chapter in Southern California. And then they also are looking at consolidating the 800 megahertz pool, looking at proposals to make the 800 megahertz channels available to all eligible entities. They did some stuff with the drone spectrum policy, with the 4.9 gigahertz proceedings also. Standards, they worked on minimum technical requirements for remote support to emergency communication center operations and core competencies and minimum training standards for public safety communications training officers. 2 submittals submitted to ANSI for emergency communications common disposition codes for data exchange and core competencies and minimum training standards. More standards development. And then the big part was in end of April. We had a total of, so from March 2025, they had 38,348 members in the association. March of 2026, 1 year later, 2,800 members were added to be a total of 41,009 members. The end of April 2026, 1 month later, the agency surpassed 43,100 total members for the agency, for the association, with group membership rising year over year from 1,667 to 1,705, which is a massive increase. And then as far as the conference this year in Anaheim, or in San Antonio, at the end of April, there were 194 exhibitors signed up for that conference, so it's going to be massive again. 27 total sponsors, to date 1,384 registrations for attendees, and housing was at 81% complete or full. So if you haven't already signed up, now's a good time to do it and get your housing in before they're completely booked and you got to go stay miles off site.
Cool. And that's something to look forward to next year in Anaheim. Next is dockets and frequency advisory. Michael, do you have anything to report? No? Okay. Next is legislative. I will give that report out. One of the highlights was 911 goes to Sacramento in May, and there was a good turnout for that. And if you have ever wanted to know how the legislative process works in California, I highly recommend signing up for 911 Goes to Sacramento next year. We have it every year. We go and talk to various legislators and Senate members about first responder bills, 911 bills, and things like that. And it's very educational, to say the least. We are watching 3 bills. Assembly Bill 1872, which is a bill to increase punishment for a second or subsequent offense of swatting from a misdemeanor to a felony, and it's now with the Senate. AB 1805 is a bill to require an audit and additional reporting on the Cal OES effort to implement Next Gen 911 in California and rename and grant the State 911 Advisory Board an oversight function over the Cal OES Public Safety Communications Division when it comes to budgeting, funding, and reimbursement decisions related to CETNA. And it is now with the Senate. There were some amendments that were requested before moving forward. And Mandy, who is chair of this legislative committee, she's working on getting more information about those changes. And the last one is Senate Bill 985, a bill that requires Cal OES to submit specific reports to the legislature regarding the implementation of the Next Gen 911 system, and it is now with the House. If you are interested in listening or participating with the Next Gen 911 board meetings, it is available on the Cal OES website. Just do a search for NG911 and the page will come up and you can see the meetings from the minutes from the last meeting, which was a couple of days ago, and stuff. So there's a lot of changes that are happening with that. Membership and nominations. Carl sent me his list. We have some new members. We have a new member from CAL FIRE, Tom Webb. We have 5 new members from EMSA, the California Emergency Medical Services Authority. 4 new members from Cal OES. 2 from Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. 1 from Santa Clara County. 1 from Kimberlite Sonatrol. 3 from Redwood City Police Department. 1 from the City of Roseville. 2 from the Sacramento County Department of Airports, 2 from Sacramento PD, 2 more from Cal OES's Public Safety Communications Group, and 1 from the Tulare County Fire Department, Jeff Smith. We have 6 associate members, 31 commercial, 78 full-time members, and as of June 5th, The NorCal members list is 839, so it's growing each month. Where am I? Okay, here we go. There's nothing new for member services or operations. There will be an operations meeting today, correct, Anna? Yeah, okay. Jim, do you have anything for public relations? Nothing from public relations. For programs, Anna, do you want me to just go through the list? Okay. So today we are obviously in Clovis at the police department here, and I want to thank Cook's Communications for hosting us, as well as the Clovis Police Department. Next month in July, if you have an agenda on the back is the list of meetings. The July 9th meeting is not going to be in Los Altos, but instead Mountain View near Sunnyvale over in the Bay Area. And you can watch for more information in your email as well as on the website coming up. And like Manny said, if you are interested in hosting or wanting to be a sponsor, commercial sponsor of any of our chapter meetings, let him know or any member of the board know, and we'll be happy to help you out. At this time, why don't we take a 10-minute break? Yes. Microphone.
Yeah. I'm on the Commercial Advisory Council or National APCO, and one of our biggest thing is that in Northern California and the West, we've had somebody representing us for the last, well, me 8 years. I'm terming out this year, and Mike Sage before me. It's been nice knowing what's going on at National, and we do have a say on the commercial side. So some of your companies now have somebody on my committee now, or the board, but I am terming off, and it would be nice having somebody in the West. So if you have any interest in joining the Commercial Advisory Council, please let me know or go online at National APCO, because it has been nice. The report Jim gave, I don't have to give it since I have the same report, but so it is nice representing the commercial side. So if you have any thoughts at all, please, I'd recommend it. Second is on the commercial side, you can join more than one chapter, and it's just $50 more to join another chapter, and it does count in our numbers, and it looks nice. And as you see here, we have 12 commercial people, and I'm not sure all of you are Northern California chapter members. So if there's any thought of that, please join multi-chapters. It's real easy to do now. That's been my biggest thing over the last 5 years at National, because it was very difficult to do that. So join multi-chapters. It does help us, and it looks good. Thank you.
Any questions, comments from the body before we take a quick break? All right, why don't we come back at 10 after, and we'll let Cooks get set up. Thank you. Oh, and if this Wi-Fi doesn't work, I have another password for the Wi-Fi up here on the podium if you need it. And it was successful with this one. Okay, good. Are we ready? All right. I know we got lots of conversations going on, which is great. We're going to turn the time over now to Cook Communications and let them do their thing. Yeah, we need to use these to stream. Yeah.
Got it.
So it's all yours.
All right. All right. Doesn't seem very hot. I guess it is. Okay. My name's Paul Lambert. I happen to work at Cook's Communications here in Fresno. One of the reasons I've been volunteering these, this is the second one we've had here in Fresno, is our Fresno area is not super involved with APCO, and that's been my goal, is to try to get more local people involved with APCO. I was going to give you a little history. Cook's has been around since 1946. I've been employed at Cook's since 1992. We are a Kenwood dealer, Viking dealer, Tate, L3 Harris. I do Zetron consoles. Trying to think what I'm overlooking. One of the other sides that Cook's does is vehicle upfitting. We do a ton of BK. I'm sorry, Chris. BK, of course, Fire Eyes, BK. I'm going to be brief. A couple of things that I wanted to talk about here, if there was an interest, was trying to get more local public safety meetings. And when I refer to that, one of the things that I've noticed lately is our city of Fresno, PD and Fire, have filed for new spectrum, and Fire in particular is halfway through doing their state load updates for Fire, and Fresno didn't make the statewide load, and there's a lot of people that don't have Fresno's new frequency spectrum. Yet a lot of people meet separately in other meetings, but that's something that came up. I feel like we got to figure out a way to share who's doing what and in what timeline so that everyone has their spectrum. Another thing that I feel like our valley tends to be very analog radio based, and more are beginning to go digital. And I myself have been involved in 2 AES 256 encrypted cities and came up with something that I did not know. And I'll give Eric, is it CRK? Is that the name of the? CKR. I always get that off. So I wasn't aware that Jim keeps a file of who is using what on the AES CKR numbers for encrypting. And the radio manufacturers, we used one. And Eric from Tulare came wanting to get our encryption key for City of Hanford to encrypt his fleets that he might need. And he also used one for something. And so when you have the same CKR, you're kind of stuck. And I envision in the future a lot of reprogramming happening at some point. So that's something that, how many people knew that? Did you guys all know that we kind of have a block down here for CKR numbers for encryption? Yeah. Yeah. I'll bring it to you.
Sorry, if you're interested in more about that, hang out for the RPC frequency coordination meeting later. One of the last steps of that meeting is we discuss encryption. And this is how it would be coordinated with everybody in the area, so that you're not overlapping somebody else's reference number.
Yeah, okay.
Just something.
Yeah, so I mean, looking back, earlier in the 2000s, I want to say the Fresno area had a 5-county radio data file that we all shared. So it is important that we all have everybody's spectrum and CKR numbers. So that was an interesting thing that came about that I just kind of wanted to share, because sooner than later, we're going to have more encryption here locally. And I did get an email that we were going to discuss that today. So Eric, maybe you ought to stick around for that too. Anyway, back to the upfitting. That's another side that we do at Cook's, is vehicle builds, graphics, light bars, sirens, and radio. So that's really my presentation for Cook's. I was more interested in Greg, and I know I'm given a lot more time, but I did this last year too. You guys have any questions on the AES or anything?
What's been the biggest customer project you guys have worked on? What's been so great about it?
Say, what is the largest?
Yeah, what's been the biggest project you've worked on, or the funnest project you worked on so far?
Oh, the funnest project. I did a four central transmitter. Let me think about this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 each. So 8. I did 4 repeaters for City of Hanford, 16 receivers between PD and fire, satellite receivers for that. At the same time, I did a 5-path microwave for that project, 23 gig licensed, and 5-position Zetron console, eventide logging recorder. That was probably one of my biggest. I'm currently in the process of 11 sites for the city of Fresno. 6 are going to be satellite receiver, 5 are going to be simulcast, and PD is going to be 10 channels, and fire is going to be 6. That is going to be my biggest to date, and that's complete antenna, feed line, filtering, repeaters, and literally on the coattails of that is City of Clovis as well, upgrading 4-site simulcast for both police and fire. So, and that's the same thing, antenna, feed line, filtering. No console on that one though, so.
I can't take Manny anywhere.
Does that answer what you're looking for?
That's cool. It's like to hear the different things that you guys have done that's very unique.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I've been really hitting infrastructure since probably, well, for quite a while, but I feel like Cooks has ramped up infrastructure in probably 22. Outside of that, we've always been portable, mobiles, upfitting, local repeaters, school districts, shopping centers. Ag has been a big customer of Cooks for a long time. I feel ag is probably really where Cooks started. Yeah, sounds, yeah. What's up, Barry?
Hold on.
Test. You mentioned the site, 11 site system you're going to be doing. Is that going to be P25? Is it moving down that road?
No, it's analog simulcast.
Okay, analog simulcast. All right, I was just curious.
You're what?
I was just curious. Thanks.
Okay, yep.
I don't need my
It
stats.
is Tate analog simulcast, by the way, as well, yeah.
Paul, I was just going to say, for the questions of stuff going on here, one of the most interesting projects in this area was back in 2005 when Fresno was an Urban Area Security Initiative awardee. The program coordinators were Jerry Dyer, who was the police chief here, and Margaret Mims, the sheriff.
Right.
Jerry's now the mayor. Margaret was just elected to the Board of Supervisors.
Right.
It was I don't remember how many sites that was, at least a dozen microwave sites. Basically, it interconnected.
Was that, by the way, the acronym FUOG? Is that what started all that? Was that, I mean, that was when I look at a lot of...
UASI.
Well, it was UASI.
Yeah.
When I look at a lot of the emails, I see UASI and I see FUOG. And I don't know what the acronym for...
I don't know what FLUOG is. I know what UASI was because I was the
Okay.
DHS coordinator for the project here. But they interconnected every city in Fresno County by microwave and gave them a Zetron console.
It was ACOM Zetron,
Right.
and it was either 6 or 11 gig microwave to like every Fresno County PSAP, including City of Fresno, County of Fresno, and City of Clovis. And literally all 3 of those still are using an upgraded ACOM that I believe was 18. Brian, does that sound right to you? It was upgraded in 18?
Yep.
So it's
Yeah.
on its 2nd generation of ACOM currently.
Right.
And so back then, though, you think of all the departments that talked and met, and all those people have gone off really and promoted, retired, and there's none of it anymore. I think Brian is literally the only one maintaining an MDC list for people locally that,
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what happened. I know the tower at Reedley came down. That was the main tower for the west end of the county. And what they replaced it with, that just happened. So I don't know
Yeah.
if they're still plugging holes or not.
So just to give an update on that, yeah, the school did tear down the tower. Here, I'll just stay standing up. The school did tear down the tower. We currently are trying to get the finishing touches on a new tower, which is just, I want to say, west of where it was. It's the old county public works yard that has been decommissioned, but we were able to utilize some land there. So we have a 250-foot tower there now. We're hoping to get it online. It should have been actually online already, but we've had quite a few setbacks in the process. It's been a few years in the making to get this thing going, but we are on the tail end of it, so we should be there pretty soon. And I think we're going to incorporate a lot of the local law enforcement as well. They're going to come in there with us. It's a fully enclosed facility. It'll have its own internal generator, battery plant, and everything else housed within inside the facility for security and everything else. So, so we're looking forward to that going online here fairly soon, and that should give us a pretty good reach. Going back to the old FUWOG too, yeah, that was an initiative to get interoperable communications through all county, local municipalities, and everything else. We even had Clovis, Fresno City, and the county. We were on the same Zetron system. It was all in a loop, and we all shared each other's resources. The only problem was we had some difficulty in establishing protocol on how to use it and implement it, and some people were more protective of their resources than others, and we could just never seem to find the right rhythm to get everyone on the same sheet of music. So since then, with the latest iteration of the Zetron in 2018, the three agencies still have the Zetron. We've done away with all the remote consoles. They're no longer part of the equation, and each account or each entity now is separate. So we all have Zetrons, but we all are on our own Zetron systems. So that's how it currently stands as it is today. So.
Anyway, thank you guys all for being here. I appreciate a lot of you making the trip. I'm one of these local guys that I go to the Northern California once a year show, and I never seem to make a Northern meeting, so I will try to be better at that as well. But thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Why don't we go ahead and take another break till, I don't know, 9 quarter till? Yeah, okay.
I do have sodas and water in those ice chests, and we got donuts and coffee if anyone's interested.
And lunch will also be here later
Yeah.
too. So,
Yeah.
all right, and break. All right, let's get going again. BK, you're leaving? No. Yeah. Lunch is going to be good, too. All right. Lots of good conversations going on, a lot of great networking. I hope you all are exchanging business cards. At this time, we're going to turn the time over to Greg Glenn from Comba for our keynote presentation. When it comes to questions, we will have 2 microphones going around, so wait for the microphone to come to you before we ask the questions. So, Greg, it's all yours.
Okay. Am I good on the lapel mic? Yeah? One, two, three, four, five? Yeah? Okay. My name is Greg Glenn. I'm with a company called Kumba. I also work with some of the distinguished folks at Trig, and have been doing some work with Paul lately also out in Hanford. I've been dealing with public safety communications for about 45 years now. And at one point I was on the commercial side, I operated the largest 800 meg SMR before Nextel. So been quite a few years ago, and was heavily involved in the development of what became the signal boosters that you know today. I worked with TXRX on the SB2 project. I used to handle all of their warranty work on the West Coast for Jack Daniel when he was around, and I don't know, a lot of you probably remember Jack. So I used to be his numbers guy. He always used to call me his numbers guy because when he had an engineering issue that he wanted to know was going to work, he would run it by me and I would do all the math and I'd say, yeah, that looks good, or if you do this, or we need to use these kind of filters, which has kind of been lost in transition here to what we're doing with signal boosters today. My discussion today is going to be a little bit more focused on licensee and licensee responsibilities. To give you a picture of my last week, my wife just got off of school. We were up in Oregon on Monday, or correction, on Sunday at 3 p.m. We left Oregon to drive home so that I could get on a plane at 5:30 a.m. to go to Washington, D.C. on Monday. I got home at midnight last night. I live in Sacramento and then had to turn around and get prepared for this. So please bear with me. I am tired. I've been on my feet for 3 days. It was a policy meeting in Washington, D.C. on in-building. There were people from the FCC. There were all kinds of different people there. It was sponsored by SBC. Now, many of you remember I did a presentation on RM12009. CSI at the time, which is now Trig, myself personally, and Comba all filed comments regarding that, and I think Bill Ruck did too, directly, regarding that proceeding. What is being asked for is a new framework for signal boosters. Most people that have been doing it are just about, hey, FCC, enforce your rules. Just enforce your rules, right? It was written 10 years ago. We wrote was it 10 years ago? I think it was adopted by the FCC in 2013. We rewrote the rules section. I was heavily involved in that. And everybody knew all the numbers, but it was kind of like, okay, here's some suggestive numbers. However, regardless, the licensee has to sign off, and the licensee has to maintain reasonable control of any, and that goes for any Part 90 device. Well, that didn't happen in the signal booster industry. And we've got Michael Proscia back here from City of San Francisco. They've spent upwards of probably, what, $1 million cleaning up their network? Is that Seattle, the same thing? They've increased or decreased their noise floor by around 10 dB across San Francisco, all due to signal boosters being installed under the auspices of the fire code and not being properly vetted by the licensee. Now they've got a program in place. Seattle, which was at this meeting, PCERN, has spent over $1 million, and they still will tell you, if you kick them in the corner, we don't know that we've got it under control. We've got it better, but we don't know it's under control. And I can speak to multiple situations like that. The reason that I'm bringing this up here in this market is we're starting to see issues in the Central Valley. And I just want to bring it up. We started to see issues in Los Angeles, LA City, 7 years ago, when Ken Mann worked for ITA, and he was notified, and he basically said, you know what? It's time for me to retire. I'm going to move up because he moved down to Harbor over these type of issues that were just, he said, they're not going to throw this at my feet, essentially. So anyway, that's what I'm going to talk about today. I don't want to bore a bunch of people. How many people in here are licensees or represent the licensees? And then technical, okay, so what, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we don't have a huge group. So I'm going to keep it. I may flash past some slides because I've got some very technical slides in here, but I understand that the majority of the room probably won't understand it, or I shouldn't say won't understand it, probably doesn't want to hear it. I want to see it. Okay, so at any rate, I do have, there's a lot more slides in this presentation than what we're going to talk about today. But as we go through, if you want to talk about more, have more questions, we'll do that. But I did slim it down. Okay. So, there is.
I left him alone for a minute, and he disassembled the TV, our clock, and the stereo.
That's perfectly normal. Kids take things apart.
Oh. The part that worries me is he used the components to build a ham radio set.
Oh dear.
Is that bad?
Yes. Normally I'd want to run an EEG on, but the machine isn't working. It's worse than I feared.
What is it?
I'm afraid your son has the knack.
The knack.
The knack. It's a rare condition characterized by an extreme intuition about all things mechanical and electrical and other social ineptitude.
Can he lead a normal life?
Well, I'm glad people still get a kick out of this. This was given to me about 25 years ago, and you know, along with the sign that says, please don't feed the animals, you know, in my office when I was a VP of product development. So I still play it because everybody gets a good laugh usually, and it brings a bit of levity to what I'm going to be talking about. Okay, so why are we here today? We want every first responder, police, fire, I don't care who it is, the dog catcher, to have coverage wherever they work, period. Indoor, outdoor, wherever they need it. We never want to degrade our public safety radio networks through the improper use of signal boosters. And I should change that, and I probably will, through any RF emitting device, right? I don't care if it's a signal booster, it's a repeater, it's a base station. Theoretically, we all should be in the same boat. We do not want to degrade our radio system by adding coverage in one area and taking it away from another. We don't want the FCC having to troubleshoot signal booster interference. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some conversations that I've had with the commission on this, because I've been pretty vocal on many fronts, including the commission and OET, about lack of enforcement. Typically, we have 3 parties involved. We have the NFPA, IFC, and FCC. NFPA are fire codes or building codes. They're instructional, what I would call ordinances. They turn into ordinances in cities, and they discuss how things will be built and how they'll be, the building will move forward. NFPA 1225 speaks specifically, along with IFC 510, which are the fire codes, speak specifically to in-building radio coverage. This presentation here, for the most part, is about the FCC rules, because this is where the rub is. The FCC rules supersede all building codes. That's federal law. So you got federal law here, then you've got national, then you've got state, okay? Because RF is not contained in the walls and can cross state lines, it's considered to be national, and it's regulated since 1934, the Communication Act of 1934, by the Federal Communications Commission. All police, fire, EMS, et cetera, with narrowband LMR services fall under Part 90, but Jim's going to correct me on that, and he said, well, he'll tell me no, that they sometimes fall under Part 22, because actually Placer County bought a block of frequencies for their radio system. So Placer County actually has skin in the game, right? They pulled out the hard bucks to get the spectrum. Okay, let's talk about FCC and the licensees for a minute here. An FCC licensee is an entity that the Federal Communications has authorized to operate on a certain frequency, right? You don't own the frequency, you don't own the spectrum. You've been given a license to use it by the FCC under certain circumstances. Now, I've been traveling across the United States doing this, and it is amazing to me how many licensees don't even know what being a licensee means. One of the things that I have learned over the last probably 6 months, it's estimated that 15% of all of the licenses, LMR licenses under Part 90 for public safety that are being renewed have been expired for over a year. Now, if you're a licensee and you have a Part 90 license, there should only be 2 statuses of your license, active or canceled. If it's expired, well, something went wrong. I can tell you today that there are cities in the Central Valley running on frequencies that are 5 years expired. Right now, today. They try to get them back, and well, hey, it's probably not going to happen. And you can talk to Bill Ruck, he deals with that. I would recommend that if you're a licensee and you don't have the staff to handle this, farm this stuff out. Make sure that you get a hold of a Trig or a Paul at Cook, somebody, to handle your RF issues, right? San Francisco's got their own radio people. Apparently Fresno does too, and Fresno County. So, but make sure that you're actively involved. Licenses that are issued by the FCC under Part 90 can come in 2 flavors. A geographic license, right, which kind of says here's your geofence, and a site license. And the site license would be, oh, you got a transmitter at ABC site. FCC licensees are the only party, period, lock, stock, and barrel, the FCC, I've got a message from the FCC in here that can authorize the use of a signal booster, period. Not a fire code, not a building code official, and not a fire marshal unless that person is signatory to the license. And they'll know because they'll be able to whip out the license and say, here, I'm signatory, or it can be looked up. Okay, so what are the key responsibilities for a licensee? And the reason I'm bringing this up is I think people need to understand this, because active licensees, right, we're starting to push back and say, hey, wait a minute, my radio network's being affected by this, I need to understand that. And we're going to talk about a little bit about that later on. But I'm just going to go over the responsibilities that a licensee has if they have a Part 90 license. And if they really don't pay attention to it, they're going to lose their license, and then they're going to have to call Bill. And Bill's going to say, hey, I'm sorry, you know, you were grandfathered in at 250 watt CRP, now you're down to 30. Or I can't get your license back for you. You got to vacate the channel, which is going to go on, I think, in the Central Valley here pretty quick. Okay, so frequency coordination. Before operating, any user must obtain a recommendation from a FCC certified frequency coordinator, which in this room would be APCO, right? APCO AFC. Licensee maintenance or license maintenance, licenses must be renewed before their expiration. On the public safety side, Part 90, there's no grace period. You got to renew them or they expire. Now, if they expire, you can reapply, but if somebody is really sharp, because spectrum is limited, they're going to jump on your channel. They're going to take it as fast as they can get it. I didn't think it was that bad up here. I know it was really bad down in Southern Cal, but now I guess that happened up here too. While many licenses are now 10-year terms, failure to renew during the grace period requires a new application. Is there a grace period? I was told there's no grace period, right? 30 days. 30 days, okay. So you got 30 days from the date of X. But your license, if you are a public safety Part 90 licensee, your license shouldn't be expiring, period. It's either active or it's canceled, because as a licensee, you are obligated to turn that license back in if you're not going to be using it anymore, which would be a cancellation. Okay, one of the primary things, and this is the discussion I've been having with the FCC, and I'm going to kind of tell you what I've been told. I'm going to paraphrase because, you know, hey, I don't want somebody quoting me that I'm quoting an FCC guy. I'm just going to paraphrase what I've been told. But one of the primary responsibilities of a licensee is to prevent interference. Licensees are strictly responsible for minimizing harmful interference to other users. This includes monitoring their channels before transmitting and taking immediate corrective action, such as reducing power or adjusting frequencies if interference occurs. So that seems to be an open discussion, right? If I take a radio, a Bofang radio, and I program it on, say, Fresno PD or Fresno Fire, Fresno County Fire, and I start making noise on that channel, are you gonna come after me? You catch me? Are you gonna report it? Well, I mean, I'm asking. If I was creating problems on your radio system, would you report that to the FCC? Yes? No? Okay. Now, signal boosters are 5-watt transmitters. If somebody puts in a signal booster that doesn't have licensee authorization, and it's happened down here, it happened last year at an Ulta facility that caused interference. The FCC was involved, but the licensee did not pursue saying, no, this needs to be documented, this needs to be, you need to write a violation, because this building put this in without proper authorization. This has to happen. The FCC is saying, and it does, I can tell you that there are people that are reporting it now more actively, but this is a serious violation. Think about what happens if a police officer runs into a building, can't use his radio, and it's because there's a BDA causing interference to the uplink of the radio network. It's not a good situation, and we've had that happen in the valley here. Okay, so next thing on licensees, technical compliance. Licensees must ensure equipment operates within specific technical limits of their license, including, but not limited to, power limits, emissions, and antenna height. Again, if you have those people in your organization, great, use them. But some organizations are fairly small in size or don't have the resources to do that. Hire somebody, farm it out. On the BDA side, charge the people that are putting in the BDA. If you can't look at a BDA design, and if you don't know the math to say, yes, this antenna spacing looks right, and oh, they're not lying to me, because I'll tell you 90% of the time they don't put the numbers in the submittals. But if you don't have a person on your staff that can look at that and say, yes, this makes sense. Yes, this has a prayer of going in without causing problems. And more importantly, I understand the impact that this will have on my network. Farm it out. Go ahead, hire somebody that's capable of doing it. Somebody who will put their tail on the line and say, if this interferes, I'll come out and deal with it. I'll come out and help you get rid of the problem. Because right now there's tons of people that say, oh yeah, I'll do it. But when you tell them, okay, if there is an interference problem, will you be liable for it? Oh, all of a sudden they walk away. You don't want that, because it's just like building like simulcast radio system that you're building here, 5-channel simulcast. BDAs are simulcast transmitters, pure and simple. If they're out of phase, if they've got too much time delay, they're out of phase. And again, I don't want to go into all the math here. I took some of the math stuff out of here. They will cause problems, and those problems could even be intermittent. Those problems could be, I have a portable that is over in this area, and it only occurs when I have radios in this area, because multiple signal boosters are interfering with each other. And we'll talk about, this is why it's so important that the licensees have these policies in place and have a methodology. And this is, again, the FCC rules. The licensee must, okay, preventing interference, come on. Okay, yes, equipment compliance, system modifications. You put a BDA on, you're modifying your system. So you're still responsible as a licensee. Station monitoring. Licensees are responsible for monitoring their stations to ensure they don't cause interference. One of the things, and I'll bring this up because it was brought up to me in this meeting in Washington, D.C., there isn't a cellular carrier in the market that can't tell you the noise level at any given sector over a 15-minute period. How many licensees in here today can tell me the noise floor at your radio site? I know he can. Can you? Okay. Most licensees that truly can have spectrum analyzers at each site and are monitoring them on a real-time basis. Okay? ISI in Los Angeles. You've got Ted Collins up in Washoe County now. They have big screens where they've got spectrum analyzers up there. City of Fresno, I found this out yesterday or the day before, actually has the CTEL monitoring network on apparently 8 of their sites. Okay, great. So they are starting, this is starting to happen. But I will say this much, and I will recommend this, that if you allow signal boosters on your radio network, that you have a way of real-time monitoring each one of your base stations. And we'll talk a little bit about why that is as we move forward. And also, at the bottom, the latest is signal booster management. Licensees are responsible for signal booster management, right? I mean, the FCC has kind of said, licensee, here, you can use this tool. However, these are the parameters. And the parameters are that it is used within your coverage contour. In other words, is your radio network built out? And I can tell you, I see lots of signal boosters used where they are technically illegal because there's not enough signal to amplify, or there's not contour coverage, let's put it that way. And and this is creating a problem with the FCC. The FCC, as far as they're concerned, really when it gets right down to it, if you're a licensee and you can turn it off within 4 hours of notification of a problem. So if you're out in Utah and you got Bob's meat packing plant, you got one BDA, well, I can go over, I can drive over to Bob's place, hey Bob, let me in, I gotta turn it off. But if you're in Los Angeles City and they say we want all these boosters turned off in this geofence, and you got 4 hours to do it, it isn't gonna happen because there's no control, right? Nobody's put in remote control. Now, ISI has, that's Steve Ronick's group, if you don't know him. I know that Washington's DC has. I think that San Francisco's working on it, and Seattle's working on it. Every signal booster needs to be, if you're gonna have more than 1 or 2, realistically, it needs to be controlled via some sort of monitoring system, and it has to be controlled by somebody who knows us.
Haven't you always said that, you touched on it a second ago, if there's not enough signal or contour, a BDA is not the solution?
Well, that's true.
Are you getting more to that? Because
I didn't get into the numbers, but I will be more than happy to go into that, yes. The FCC says you can use a signal booster within the contour of your coverage. And I did talk about the difference between the difference between geographic and site licenses. And then there's a question about, okay, if I'm in a geographic license and I'm within that geographic area, but I don't have signal in a certain area, can I use a BDA? Okay, that's a questionable thing, but as long as the licensee is willing to take responsibility for that, you know, go for it. But I will tell you that signal boosters are being put in areas that have minus 105 dBm signal levels. I'm sorry, but speaking from a manufacturer, getting called by, why doesn't my signal booster work? And I look at the numbers and I go, well, you're blocked from the radio site. Well, why did you put in a signal booster? Well, because the fire code said to do it. Well, it doesn't work. Yes, it doesn't. And then to further find out that that particular city, which is in New Jersey, they use Motorola N70s with LTE because their own radio network doesn't work in that city. Yet they're trying to put in a signal booster. This is the insanity of what's going on right now. Okay, so signal boosters are a great tool to, you know, create seamless coverage. I won't deny that. I've been building them. I work for a company that builds them. They can be used, not a problem. But they can't be used every time, oh, I don't have coverage in a building. It's I don't have coverage, it goes to the licensee. The licensee looks at it and says, okay, my network, we're growing, I need to build out my radio network. Or, you know, this building, I can speak to some stuff that's happened up in the Bay Area where the building in question is completely outside the contour of the radio licenses, the licensee's contour, period. It's outside, it's in their interference contour. And yet they're trying to put a BDA in there, but the problem is the licensee isn't involved, right? So the person who's gonna have their butt on the line isn't the person that's being involved making the decision. Signal boosters really do work well. We've had very good success with them. We've been using them since the 1980s, basically. I probably put my first one in 93, 95 down in Burbank in one of the movie studios, and I've worked a lot of special projects with Jack Daniels over the years. And he left us, I think it's been 14 years now. I talked to his wife here recently. I was just really, it's disheartening because he was such a good guy. It's just been within the last 7 years or so, 7 to 8 years, that we've started seeing this rise in the overall noise floor. You talk to engineers who do radio system design now, and they'll tell you straight up, we can't design for the noise floor. We have to design for the interference. So in other words, when we used to, at 800 megs, pretty much design within 3 dB of the noise floor, now we design for interference. We design for, you know, oh, we're gonna have to add 10 more sites because the noise floor is 10 dB hotter than it should be. Okay, so the problem comes when signal boosters are used without coordinating with the licensee and following the FCC rules. At the end of the day, I have not found one signal booster that's an interfering, causing problem that has been put in and properly documented per the FCC rules. I mean, there may be some, but as far as I know, it usually the licensee doesn't even know about it when they cause problems. Again, federal law only allows one party to grant permission. That is the FCC licensee, period. So if you're in a market, and I had one down here in Fresno, this was a few years ago, where they were trying to bring in a channel off of Joaquin Ridge. Anybody know how far Joaquin Ridge is from here? 60, 70 miles? Guess what, guys? On VHF, you don't talk that. Or even Meadow Lakes, really, because you're talking a lot of times across the top of, is it Owens? Is that the one between Meadow Lakes? This has all got to be coordinated. You just can't do this stuff and say, I want to bring in every ambulance channel and every fire channel for the 70 miles. You can't do that kind of stuff. Okay, so there's a good reason for this. A signal booster is like any other transmitting device, right? If I sit there and make noise with my Bofang radio, you're going to come after me. If the booster sits there and makes noise, number one, is it authorized by the licensee to begin with? And if it is, that licensee should be able to push a button and turn it off, right? Simple. If that was happening, we wouldn't be having this discussion. FCC rules define signal boosters as a secondary device. Now, this is something that I've had a real issue with. If I just dealt with one up in Tehama County. I have an EOC and I have a new jail. And I have the jail radio system is a licensed radio system, and it was 65, I think it was 65 kilohertz away from the fire uplink. So I wrote a spec that required that the signal booster have PLD code in it. Well, they built it, and it worked. But guess what? I was looking out for that EOC. That is what is supposed to happen. The EOC is the license. In other words, the EOC in that situation is a licensed user. The BDA that went into that jail that was called for under the fire code is secondary. So it cannot cause any interference, and it must accept any interference that's caused by a licensed user. Now, if you read the fire code, you might interpret that a bit differently, because it says, well, nothing can interfere with the signal booster. That's incorrect. A licensee or licensee system can interfere with the signal booster. And it's the signal booster's responsibility, whoever that is, to mitigate that. And if they can't mitigate it, turn it off. So, I mean, again, these are just, you know, the way the FCC deals with it. Okay, so this is Lark Hadley. Some of you have met him. He's been at some meetings down at CPRA. He did this for us, probably not this last year, but this is probably a year and a half old. So let's see if we can get some audio going here. Well, maybe. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. And there's Bill Rock. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay.
That the first responders are able to use their communication system with mission-critical reliability. Now, this is to make sure that every first responder receives the latest information. To find that sleeping infant or that senior citizen that's in a burning building and somebody is trying to get the information to the first responder, maybe a family member has contacted dispatch, the watch commander, and said, my baby's in there, or my granddad's in there, third floor, second room on the left from the elevator. This is also important so that any injured first responder receives emergency medical treatment immediately. If a booster is causing a higher noise floor and that signal does not go out and EMS cannot get there in time, seconds count. So any proposed public safety signal booster must first be approved by the licensee. And I would suggest before it can even be turned on to test, because during testing, you could interfere with the public safety licensee right in the middle of an emergency close by. There would be no other way for them to know it, and you could be complicit in a terrible tragedy. I recommend that the required written letter of express consent from the licensee, this is the letter that you've given the building to put in the booster, your permission, delegating your licensee privileges, your license to them. I recommend that this letter be placed in a very sturdy envelope, clearly marked. Typically, I like to see with a Sharpie, maybe in a big brown manila envelope, and sealed. And then this taped to the outside of the booster cabinet in plain view. And then another copy should be safely kept in the office of the building management so it can be made immediately available to the FCC during any inspection. And if you have any confusion about that, please read FCC Rule 90.219. It is very clear. Mr. Glenn probably hasn't shared that I am also a first responder. I am a reserve deputy with the LA County Sheriff's Department. So I take this very seriously. I take what you guys do very seriously, and I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you.
Okay, that was part of a longer excerpt. The FCC has launched a web portal to report interference problems. They have asked for any signal booster that you find that is not properly authorized by licensee to report it. One of the things that was brought up to me, and this is now the second time when I was in Washington, D.C., I was talking to a few folks, pushing hard, is that public safety licensees get their spectrum for free. You don't have to go out to, you don't got to go out to bid, except for Jim. Jim goes and buys his, but that's okay. We still love him. But you get all your public safety spectrum for free, but yet the licensee community as a whole, I'm not saying everybody, the licensee community as a whole in the public safety or in the Part 90 arena doesn't take it seriously. They are responsible for all of the things that are going on here. Now, I'm not saying, because a lot of licensees over the years have become linos, licensee in name only. It's like, oh, it's some secretary's name on the license. What do you mean? I've been told by a rather large city that, what do you mean? I'm responsible for the radio system network. Well, yeah, it's your name on the license. I'm just a project manager. Okay, so something has fallen apart. And Lark Hadley said it once really nicely. He said, it was usually the old gray crotchety guy with the gray beard who took care of this and minded the store and made sure everything was fine until we went to this IT-based type technology where we got rid of the radio people and we got all IT people. He said now the newer generation, not only are they not minding the store, but they don't even know there's a store there. So, we're trying again to try to get this re-engaged, and that's why you got people like Paul, you got people like Ruck that can help you do those sorts of things. Okay, and I got one from Bill. You may have heard this a while back, I don't know, but we'll see.
Band-aiding your system design. And a single booster, properly installed and properly working, is a great thing, because you don't get coverage. 20 or 30 of them in the same area is a problem. And now you're noising up your thing. So we're not solving the basic problem, which is when I had a radio in my car. Okay? And that's one of the things we need to step back and look at it and say, we really need to take a look at my radio system and put resources that nobody has today into making it right. So the other part of the problem is that over the years, as single boosters have been put in, nobody ever thought about getting permission to do that. And now it is the licensee's problem because you don't know where they are. Okay? And so if you don't know where they are and you have a problem, how are you going to find it? So now it has become an unfunded mandate for licensees to put in the necessary time and effort and resources and basic shoe leather to go through your area, your community, and find all of them, feed up to people to get, make it work right and get a letter of authorization to do that. So at least if there's a problem at First and Main Street, they'll know, hey, that's probably the something or another building. So this is now, we have to go backwards in time, and we have to figure out where all of them are, and we have to document that and get permission to do that. And that is a resource-intensive thing. It doesn't require engineering as much as it requires shoe leather. So the issue for all of us is not if we're going to get interference, but when. Because it's going to happen. And a lot of great stories Greg can tell and I can tell, including refuse to let the FCC into the building. Things after a few phone calls suddenly they decided they didn't want to do that, but these are the kind of things we have. Unfortunately, we only took out one channel of the trunk system to just an inconvenience. But if you're running a conventional radio system and your fire red channel receivers aren't receiving in town, that is a capital big problem. So the thing, as an engineer, I can think of the engineering problems. I'm really good at that. But the relationship between the radio people and the building department authority having jurisdiction and the fire marshal and many agencies is unknown. And so we have a situation where the building code and the fire marshal says you have to have a booster. The developer looks at that as this one more thing he has got to check off his list. He finds the cheapest way to meet that requirement, because that's what the developer does, and now all of a sudden it pops up. So that's why, and there's a couple places, San Francisco is very assertive about that. Contra Costa is getting more and more into that. A few other agencies are finally caught on to that, but it is really a requirement of the CAO or the head of your agency, community, county, or whatever, that's got to beat up the authority having jurisdiction and the fire marshal to say you have to work with the radio people. That's politics, and I don't do politics. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth.
And I do appreciate you saying it rather than me, because every time I say it, I get nasty phone calls for 3 weeks. So anyway, this is a real problem, folks. This is a real deal problem where we're running into this on a daily basis now. Interference, and that's why I said, San Francisco has improved their noise floor by 10 dB, and it's all because of signal boosters that they've been able to mitigate. Well, we're going to talk about what 10 dB really means here in a little bit. Okay, so this is the ecosystem we live in right now, right? We got the FCC. This is the licensee. He's the guy who makes the rules. If he wants red polka dots or he wants white polka dots on his radio box, he has every right to ask for that. City of Miami put out a letter, Miami-Dade, that they wanted a temperature sensor and a humidity sensor included with each one of their BDAs. Comba, yeah, okay, no problem. We said here, we'll create an alarm input for that, and we'll give you some devices that you can use. We were the only manufacturer that did that. Every other manufacturer complained and said that they didn't have the right to do it because it wasn't in the fire code. The fire code has taken what was a highly regulated device and kind of just said, ignore the rules. And I know I get slapped around with this saying, well, that's not the intent. And I'm okay with saying that's not the intent, but that's the reality of what has happened over the last 7 years, is that this particular party has been left out of the equation. In fact, I can call probably 80% of people enforcing this code here and say, who's your licensee? And they don't know. Yet they're turning on boosters, which now, I have no issue if the fire code official represents the licensee. That's cool, right? You're representing the licensee. You've put all the equipment on your radio site. You have the ability to shut it down. The licensee has given you permission. You have a letter of intent. Hey, great. It's a good idea. But the problem is, right now, nobody is responsible, except under federal law, it's the licensee. But nobody is responsible. And if you read the fire code, it's the building owner, and we went round and round and round with that. The building owner cannot authorize this. Nobody can authorize it except for the licensee. Okay, so what's happening today, right? We got licensees pushing back. We have some licensees that are saying, hey, we're about ready to go throttle the state fire marshal. All kinds of things going on. And they're saying, no, you can't screw with my radio system, right? If you want to screw with my radio system, you have to put in the resources that are necessary to protect my radio network. Somebody's got to put in the resources. And so, yes, I understand. There's an issue with funding. This should have never been, this was written like the building owner's going to pay for it. Well, nope, the building owner is not going to pay for it. They're going to do it the cheapest way possible, and they're sure not, unless you put in a mechanism not like Seattle does, right? I think Seattle charges $2,500 now to come out and inspect. And if you fail, it's another $2,500. that they put in the effort to make the system work. And they're still having some issues up there. And then we got countless markets that are having issues that, that some of them don't believe it. Some of them it's like, well, and there's a reason why they don't believe it, because they're not looking for it. They're not monitoring it. And then when they do realize that it's happened, we got a huge problem. So really, this is how the ecosystem should work, right? Anything goes through the FCC licensee. In other words, I walk into a building, I'm a fire guy, or I'm a third-party tester, or however that's set up, and I say the building fails, I call San Francisco, I call Michael. Michael, what do I do? Sacramento, I don't know what their current policy is, but what do I do? Because the fire code, again, if you're in Santa Rosa and you test to minus 95, which the fire code, it gyrates back and forth between the minus 95 and the DAQ, but if people are testing for RSSI, in Santa Rosa, minus 95 isn't going to get it because their noise floor there is minus 104, their VHF. If you were in Hanford, minus 95 isn't going to get it. Probably a lot of markets in Fresno, if they're VHF. You're not going to be able to do it with minus 95. So you go into a building and you say it has minus 95, or worse yet, you charge Kaiser Hospital $1 million to put in a system, and it only does minus 95, and it doesn't actually work when the game is over, and then they come in and they say, well, we met the spec of the fire code. So we just spent $100 or $100,000 for something that doesn't work. Not a good look, right? The licensees really need to be involved. This is from the FCC call that was, well, a while ago. We don't have the resources to be spending time playing whack-a-mole with BDA interference issues across the United States. If we must get involved, it will not be pretty. We do not carry a 2x4, we drive a bulldozer. That was where the FCC stands on it right now, which I found it interesting that Safer Buildings, while I don't have a problem with Safer Buildings approaching the commission on building a structure, basically nobody's adhered to the existing laws. If they had adhered to the laws to begin with, we wouldn't be having this discussion. So are we going to rewrite a set of rules that we wrote 10, 13 years ago now that were perfectly good and just ignored? We're going to write a whole new set of rules that we're just going to ignore again? I don't know. So if any licensee has an issue with an unauthorized signal booster, please help by getting it listed on the FCC's website. Okay, so what's also happening in the field, right? The integrator community. We watch a 30-minute video and we become radio engineers, right? Oh, manufacturer, you can watch a 30-minute video and you're qualified to install product. They take a feature overview class with no RF theory and no testing at the end and simply hands you a certificate. Unqualified vendors install systems that create problems with radio networks. Would you, I'm asking the licensees in the room here, would you let just anybody put in a new base station at your radio site? Add channels to your radio site? Nope. Put in a new simulcast site? Nope. So you're all saying no, but yet you do it every day with signal boosters. Okay. Boosters are being installed to mitigate problems caused by other boosters. We're finding that happening all the time now. The noise floor has been raised by boosters, and so we're going to put in another booster because this building no longer works. And there's nobody watching the back end to say, hey, wait a minute, why do we have a coverage problem here? We didn't have a coverage problem here 6 months ago, right? Radio site interference is becoming so common, public safety site design engineers can no longer quantify these levels due to constantly changing noise levels right now. Again, this has gotten really bad over the last 7 years, a lot worse than it had been in the prior years. Okay, so we got 90.219. We talk about a signal booster, any booster that amplifies radio signal in and out of a building. The authority to operate. These are the actual FCC rules. The licensee, 4 stations operating above 150 megs. So that means anybody VHF and above 40 megs, you can do it, but you got to get a license. can operate boosters limited to their service band for which they are authorized at anywhere within their station service contour, but not extend their contour. Now, let me ask you this. Can you authorize a booster that's amplifying FirstNet? What? I got San Francisco saying no. That's right. Local licensee cannot do that. In fact, the FCC rules specifically state that you can't have a single booster doing that. Yet they're being built and they're being certified. This is one of my arguments with OET. Well, you certified the equipment, but yet it doesn't meet the requirements. And the FCC's comment, the licensee's responsible. The licensee should be looking at this. Okay, so that's the message I get back. The PLMR licensee is the only party that can authorize or approve a signal booster. Licensees can also consent, right? This is the consent clause. If Bill wants to put in a signal booster in his house, he can call his local licensee, I don't know who that would be, it might be San Francisco, and say, hey, I want to put a signal booster in. And the city of San Francisco could say, okay, Bill, here's your requirements, and I want purple and white polka dots, and I want, whatever. I want you to use this antenna, I want you to do this, you can only allow this much signal, you can't run full power, whatever that set of rules is. And Bill then says, okay, and they give him a certificate and they get written authorization. If that doesn't happen, if that piece doesn't happen, it is an illegal signal booster, and right now the FCC and others believe it's about 90% are still illegal today. Now, reasonable control. One of the rules is that the licensee has to maintain a reasonable level of control, okay? And this comes up all the time. Well, what's a reasonable level of control? I had the FCC, and I thought that was the greatest answer. I was doing a IWCE presentation. They were on the panel. Can you shut it down in 4 hours? Simple. If you get a call from another licensee, you get a call from the FCC, can you shut it down in 4 hours? You guys got to need to think about that because, like I said, I have been in a situation, we had problems in Sacramento, a booster that was wiping out a whole area around UC Davis. I got to the building, we determined where it was. We contacted the building people. They brought in their local maintenance people and they said, oh, that room there where the booster is, you can't get into that. We have a higher level of maintenance people, they got to come in from San Francisco or from the Bay Area. It took us 6.5 hours to get it shut down. Up in South Lake Tahoe, Douglas County, 9 signal boosters on the strip, completely wiped out both their fire and SO base station. One of those in Bally's. We got to it, we figured it out. I was able to walk up to the antenna on the roof. Yep, it's coming from here. It took us over 3 hours to find it because the building engineer didn't know where it was. The fire code official who authorized it didn't know where it was. There was no documentation. But we found 9 of them. Douglas County actually had to file an STA with the FCC to put in a temporary repeater on the strip that covered all the casinos just fine, and all the casinos were being covered just fine, but somebody decided we're going to put in the first booster, and that screwed up their site at East Peak, which is at 10,000 foot, and down on the strip on Lake Tahoe at State Line. So, real important, can you shut it down in 4 hours? If you got 1 booster in your market, probably can. If you got 10, I doubt it. And even with the 1 booster, being able to get to it seems to be a real problem because nobody ever knows where they are. Non-licensees seeking to operate. Okay, this is another thing where I think people have a bit of an argument, right? A non-licensee seeking to operate. So Bill Ruck says he wants to operate to San Francisco. And they say, okay. Now, let me ask you this. If the fire marshal calls for a BDA and they are not the licensee, are they a third party? Are they a third party requesting permission to operate? Just throwing that out there. Because in my mind, fire code official immediately, if they don't like a system, should pass it back to the licensee first and foremost. Now, the licensee can buck it back out however they want to do it, to building code division. And as far as I'm, the fire marshal may want to look at it and say, yeah, all the ground rods are in right. And, I have watched, and I'm not trying to knock fire marshals, but in this town, in Fresno, and this was a state fire marshal, for 4.5 hours was looking at the light on the panel for the alarms while the BDA was interfering with Fresno system at Fresno State University. 4 hours. All she was concerned about was the lights, but not about the fact that the BDA was causing an interference problem. Okay, so PLMRS licensees, according to the rules, are responsible for the proper operation of that booster and correcting harmful interference. Now, harmful interference is defined by the FCC would be to somebody else, but you don't want you don't want to have something interfere with you either. So just whatever that's worth. As a manufacturer, and if you don't see this on a box, if you don't see this on a signal booster, you probably shouldn't be using it because it's not certified. This is not a consumer device. It is designed for installation by an FCC licensee or a qualified installer. Question is, what's a qualified installer? Who is a qualified installer? What? The low bidder. Okay, anybody else? Okay, well that's usually how it goes. Actually, qualified installer, according to the FCC, is the person or the company that the licensee deems adequate to do it. And there's $1,000, $100,000 fine. Now we've been pushing to get some $100,000 fines. Of course, right, this is a very dicey thing. The reason I'm bringing this up is not because I'm not trying to threaten anybody. I don't want people to have a fear of this, but the bottom line is this will affect your radio system. That's it. Lock, stock, and barrel, it's going to get you at some point if you don't have the proper protocols in order. I mean, you could speak to San Francisco. I can give you a bunch of other names. Okay, so third parties must request and receive written permission. We've got all this. The written permission should have the call sign, frequencies, and signature of contact person. There's a lot of times where you have multiple licensees, and if the fire department wants this, they should be gathering all this information. Even in the fire code, it says they're supposed to deliver you a package. That package should have the person to contact, all the licensees, and everything else that goes with it. Okay, so why is the FCC so concerned about this? It's estimated that 90% of signal boosters are unauthorized. Poor in-building coverage is not for the building owner, right? A building is part of the macro network, and it's a building, yes, it needs to be dealt with, but it is the licensee's responsibility to come up with a solution. Can the building owner pay for it? Yes, but it's not for a building owner to determine what's going to be done. It's illegal for any party to authorize the use of a signal booster except for the licensee. So if that building owner just decides they want to use a brand ABC signal booster, and a licensee doesn't agree with it, hey, it's it's not legal. A poor in-building coverage is a radio network issue, period. It's not this building, it's not that building, it's the radio network. Just like if you didn't have coverage out on the freeway. Oh, well, they built an overpass. So is it the guy who built the overpass's fault? No, it's a radio system or radio network issue that needs to be treated as such. Not as, oh, I'm fixing a building. It's, I'm fixing my radio network. Somehow that's been dropped through all of this. Something we can all relate to, right? Traffic, right? Traffic discussion. How do we allow all the vehicles to share the same roadways? Well, we use engineers, right? We use traffic engineers. And we limit the speed. With BDAs, we're kind of sitting here. This is how we're working with BDAs now. We should be this way where we can see everything, and now half of the BDAs go in, and this is the kind of environment we're dealing with. We can't see, we don't know. Even as an integrator, if I don't know that there's a building over here with a BDA in it, and I'm putting one in this building, I need to design for that. Okay, so let's talk about boosters again. North Carolina, have a map, right? have a map that shows where all your boosters are. All of these are out there, and I think this is North Carolina. And basically, if it's red or blue, it has something going on that needs to be addressed. So it's got an alarm. Now, I will say this, Mike. For all you licensees in the room, the alarms that you get off a BDA are completely worthless for using troubleshooting for what you want to know, because that never got written into the fire code. Here's another one. Now, I'm going to talk about this specifically because this is Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. did not know where any of their BDAs were, along with Seattle, basically. They have spent over $1 million hiring a company to actually go out and find all the BDAs. Both of them did. Do we want to get to that point? Because when you start getting the interference, it's not something that, you know, if you've been monitoring it all along and you come in Monday morning, you left Friday night, everything's cool, you come in Monday morning and you got, oh, I got a high noise level, or I'm seeing weird stuff up at site at, say, Meadow Lakes or whatever. It's a lot easier to troubleshoot than you go to Friday night, a BDA gets turned on without your permission, and 6 months later you get a call from your Marine Patrol that's out on Millerton Lake that says, hey, we can't talk anymore. And you go, well, hey, that should be handled off this mountain. And now you get up there and you find out, well, I got a ton of noise. And we had that exact same thing happen in Sacramento out on the Delta, where a BDA was put in October. Go ahead. I'm almost done here, so. Okay, I'm watching the clock.
Question, who coordinates that map? So
this is paid for by Office of Unified Communications, Washington, D.C. They paid for it.
Okay, and then specifically, like if you're talking about, I'm going to use Fresno for example. If we wanted, who would typically? So we have several different groups that are coordinating these BDAs, from fire prevention to our ISD and City Hall. And I think everyone has a fingerprint on it, but I don't know if anyone's coordinating all the efforts. So I guess what are other cities doing to coordinate a map as this one or like the one previously, I guess?
Okay, the one from North Carolina was actually done by the state, or by both of these were, the one from North Carolina was actually done by the state. They built it on their GIS system. This is another company called Morecom, and they actually charge $40 a BDA. So the city is paying $40 for every BDA that's being monitored here. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. They found 300. They estimate they've got close to 800. Okay? Same thing, I think, in San Francisco happened there. City of Los Angeles, I don't even want to go down that road because I suspect there's 3,000 to 4,000 down there and they don't know where they're at. Or if they do, it's like you can't do a search and say, what buildings have BDAs? And then have them give you a list of addresses. Okay, booster engineering. Every booster takes up space. Make sure you engineer it. Like I said, I don't want to go too deep in here. We were talking about 10 dB noise, right? So when we design, right, we design around 100% coverage. If we have 6 dB of noise, we reduce our site coverage by 50%. If we have 18 dB, we've reduced it by 80%. Right now, there are sites in downtown Los Angeles that have over 18 dB of descent. So, you know, you can't stand on the top of a 500-foot building and talk to the City Hall radio site that's 1.25 miles away. It gets voted on a site 30 miles away up on Oak Peak. Do the math, folks. This is kind of some of the stuff we've seen in downtown LA. This is downlink on top of a building, right? This is all noise, right? I would tell, right, if it was up to me and I'd said, don't turn on this BDA, but I get overruled, so they turn them on anyway. And so they just amplify this noise. And this noise is all over downtown LA right now. This is another example of Baldwin Hills in LA. All the stuff on the right, none of those are radios, right? Here's the radio signals. Now, granted, there is a filter here. All of that is noise. And that's all in the uplink portion of LA Fire. That's on Baldwin Hills. That's one of their main sites between downtown LA and LAX. This one is a picture of JACH. I think this is City Hall. Again, this one isn't as bad, but it's still, it's still this noise level of minus 112. That's 30 about 30 dB above the noise floor. Not good. Okay, so, and I did this for the city of LA. This is kind of the coverage map, because I worked on them way back when, way back in the 1990s. This is kind of the coverage map that we had, right? Where green is really good, and they're a simulcast system, but I just took a picture of what the descent is causing. So these areas in the gray are dead, right up in the hills. The blue is good mobile coverage. The green is, good portable coverage. Now, let's go to the next map. With the 15 dB descents, all the areas that went gray. Okay, so that's essentially what they've done to their portable coverage in downtown LA. They seem to have okay mobile coverage, but portable coverage has been having some issues. A bit of math on here. LAFD, the radius would be about 161 square miles if they didn't have the interference. It's now 2 miles, square miles. I mean, and that's just the math. Or 12 miles, I'm sorry. It went from a radius of 2 miles. So they had a radius of 7 miles if it was working good. Now it's probably about 2 miles, based on what we know. All right, so I'm going to call it quits, because this is plan check stuff. If you guys want to go through that, I will. If you have the people in your organization, I'll be more than happy to do that. If you want to farm it out, I would talk to Bill Ruck or to Paul. I mean, they're both good guys. So I'm not going to go a whole bunch into this, but if you can't look at these and tell if the numbers are real, get somebody who can. Is all I can probably tell you. I don't have a whole bunch of time. Right, none of this stuff. Don't let people talk through mountaintops. That seems to be a popular thing. This was back, Jack Daniel wrote this back in 2007. So we've been talking about this since 2007. And it's pretty much all been ignored. I did this in 2008 for Alameda County. Tools to catch interference. Guys, seriously, if you're gonna put signal boosters, well, actually, I would say if you're gonna put anything on your network anymore, monitor your radio sites on a real-time basis. There's lots of ways to do it. Anritsu, PCTEL, there's all kinds of different products out there. There's good, there's bad, we can talk about that, but know your ambient noise floor, right? I talk to more licensees, I get out there and they go, oh, well, you're 10 dB above the noise floor. How long has it been this way? Or has it always been this way? Oh, we don't know, we don't check these things. Well, if you don't check them, you don't know. If you can't develop a baseline, you can't figure out what the problem is. Okay, again, this is getting to be stuff that's really technical. Okay, I want to bring this up. This actually happened in the Central Valley, right? We got a farm, we got a road, we got a new store. What do? We put a signal booster in the new store. Now we get a second new store, and we put a signal booster in that one, and then we put a signal booster in this one. Then we have a major incident back in 2000, back when all the riots were, and this is what happens. Hopefully we'll hear that.
What's the name? Sorry, it's disconnect. Send others.
Okay, you got send others in there? Did you hear the officer said send others?
Sorry,
She didn't hear him. Okay, so that was audio from this situation. Happened probably, they were still analog at the time. I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago, 2000. Situation here, the police officers had to back all the way out here when they had a situation in here because they couldn't have radio coverage in that parking lot, and it was due to the 3 BDAs talking to each other, okay? And it really had to do when the third one was turned on, and that was what ended up happening, which was really fun, is they pointed at the middle building as being the problem, but it wasn't. And then they pointed back at Home Depot as being the problem. It wasn't. It was the combination of the two. But nobody knew that the buildings were there. This is another set of audio that we've got from, let's see if I can get it to play here. Well, I can't, but I have some P25 audio that we had. Okay, so I'm going to quit with that because I got 3 minutes left if anybody wants to ask some questions. I know it was a complete download of stuff you didn't want to hear, but yeah.
Being that the licensee is responsible for authorizing the BDAs, whatever the case may be. Sorry. Being the licensee is responsible for authorizing the BDAs, whatever the case may be, is there a way to not document that maybe within the license on the site or any way, that way it could be searchable for other people to know how many BDAs are in a given area or under a certain license?
That, for instance, the one in North Carolina is open to the public. You can go online and you can look. So
these are being registered like on the FCC?
No, that they have their own program, and if you get caught putting a BDA in North Carolina without permission of the licensee, it's not a good scene. So
I guess what I'm ultimately asking is there a way to integrate it into the FCC database or whatever, so they at least have a record of it, of signal boosters that are in service?
This is something that's being brought up. Yes, they're asking the FCC to do it. I think the FCC's position on it is going to be it's not our responsibility, it's the licensee's responsibility. If they allow signal boosters, it's their responsibility. Now, mind you, the FCC has also said you can say no. You do not have to allow them. They are an RF emitting device. So, you know, whatever that's worth. Go ahead, Bill.
A compliment what Greg did. Answering your question, needs to be a process established between the radio people and the building people and the fire marshal. And that's, in Bill's weird view of the world, there are technical problems and political problems. Never confuse them. We do technical problems, but the establishment of a process for BDAs in any jurisdiction is a political problem. So the CAO or whoever's in charge needs to tell the building department that says, when you say the BDA is required, you need to go to the radio people and get them involved from day one, get the radio people to look at it and say, yes, it needs to be this way or that way or whatever from a very technical perspective. Then the fire marshal makes sure that happens and everything else. Where it gets really messy, and I'm going to use Contra Costa as an example, the county runs the radio system. Also East Bay Regional Communication System Authority, which is another group different than the county. But each city has their own building department and their own fire marshal, which does not report to the county. So now we have a situation where we have individual cities operating independently from the county with BDA requirements that's never communicated up to the county, across to the radio people, and the radio people being involved. San Francisco's done a wonderful job, but it's the city and county of San Francisco, it's a little shorter leash. So depending on your environment, it's a political issue, but the main thing is that we don't want the people wearing a gun and a badge or driving red trucks to not have the radios work. That's our goal. And we want them to have a radio work inside, and that's our goal. But we need to, we as a group though, need to make sure the political establishment is set up so the silo called building and the silo called radio actually acknowledge their existence. And I'm being cynical, but I've got scars from being involved in solving these problems.
Okay. Let Michael Proscia real quick. And I know we're out of time and people probably want to eat lunch.
Also to his question, there is a FCC registration database, but it's only a requirement for Class B BDAs, which typically previously did not usually have a squelch feature. And majority of BDAs that you might have installed, if they're newer equipment, they might be Class A, which have a squelch feature. And the FCC does not require those to have their location put in this database, which would then make it searchable for everybody. There's some discussion amongst the industry that maybe the FCC should require all of these to be put in that database, but that hasn't happened yet. So you could make your own requirement that they must put it in that database, or but that doesn't help you find the ones that are pre-existing, you know? So that's where you might need to work with your fire or Department of Building Inspection whoever required these, there was probably some kind of documentation required when they put them in, and hopefully they should have those records somewhere, and you might be able to dig back from those and build your database. We kind of had to do something like that for ours. So going forward, all of them are required to like fill out a form for us. You know, they go through their process with the fire department, but when they go through that, they're deferred to us, and they also have to fill out a form for us, and we have a map just like what you're seeing there that has everything in it. Hopefully that helps a little bit. And also, Jonathan.
Yeah. And real quick, Michael has wrote a lot of the policy for the city of San Francisco. I'm one of the ones that leads the team that does all the inspections for the San Francisco area. And if you want to know, like, this is great information on these are what you need to be following, this is what you need to, but if you need to figure out the political side, how to get buy-in, how to actually, like, how many hours this actually took us to set this program up, how, like, I have to have dedicated team to do this, how we, you know, what that takes, please feel free to come and get us during lunch and sit down with us, and we'll go over it. And so it's still a fight. We've been working on it for 7-8 years to get this set up, and we're not all the way there. So
the other side of it, I think what you're saying too, Brian, is a lot of times these buildings are built and they're concrete or they're hard ceilings, and then they're discovering that they don't have communication. So it's crazy to hear that they know to come to you before this process that we don't have. Is that part of what you're saying too, Brian? Yeah.
And that's really it. I mean, because right now, and I can tell you in many markets, it's this finger pointing, right? Because now we got interference, how are we going to fix it? Okay, they're going to call somebody like a Ruck or, you know, even me or whatever, but they're going to be paying $2,500, $3,000 a day to have somebody go find it. And how would you like to be a little county like Douglas County, where we had to spend almost 2 weeks because of a problem they'd been having for 6 months and couldn't solve it? It was all related to signal boosters that they didn't even know about. So thank you for your time, and I'll be here for lunch if anybody wants to hit me up.
All right. Thank you, Greg. And lunch is here, but before we do, we're going to hand out our door prizes really quick. And I just want to say that for this meeting, we had 39 people register. We had 36 attend today. So thank you for all your coming and support. So we'll do the door prizes right now before we go eat, before everybody disappears. And with that, I just want to add that for every APCO meeting that you attend in person, you are automatically added to a grand prize, door prize, that will be handed out in December. So the more times you attend, the better your odds at winning something. However, I have to add the disclaimer that board members are not eligible to win. So, and our final meeting will be in December at the CHP headquarters as usual. July's meeting, of course, is in Mountain View. Watch for the website and your email for announcements for that and registration times. And I will ask. So, all right.